What if I told you that you could scrape the web for your AI projects without writing a single line of scraper code? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a super powerful, kind of hidden tool inside the Gemini API that does exactly that. And trust me, it could totally change your workflow. Okay, so if you're a developer, you know the absolute headache that is web scraping, right? It's so often complex, it's brittle, it breaks all the time. You're relying on these dedicated services that can be slow and super unreliable. It just feels like this constant struggle to get your application the fresh data it needs. But what if the solution was already baked right into the Gemini API this whole time? A tool that's faster, way more reliable, and honestly, almost completely undiscovered by most people. All right, let's pull back the curtain. This feature is called URL context, and believe me, it is designed to solve this exact problem. So at its core, URL context lets Gemini directly access and, more importantly, understand the content from any link you give it. And look, we're not just talking about basic text here. This thing natively processes entire web pages, super complex PDFs, and yeah, even images. And that really is what makes it such a hidden gem. This isn't some weird third-party add-on you have to install. No, this is a core feature that's just surprisingly overlooked, and it's ready for you to use right now. Okay, so how does it actually pull this off without all those usual scraping nightmares? Well, the process is actually brilliantly simple and super efficient. It's this really smart two-step dance. First, for just pure speed, it checks Google's massive indexed cache for the content. This usually gives you a response almost instantly. But if the content isn't there, or if it thinks it might be stale, it automatically does a live fetch to grab the absolute latest version. You get this perfect balance of speed and fresh data, and you don't have to do any extra work. But listen, this is so much more than a standard text scraper. Its real power, its secret sauce, is in its multimodal understanding. It doesn't just read the text of a PDF. It visually parses the layout. It understands the charts, the figures. It can navigate those tricky web pages with all the expandable menus. And yes, it can even look at an image from a URL and tell you what's inside. It's wild. Okay, theory is one thing, but let's see what this actually looks like in practice, right? Here are a few examples that are going to show you just how versatile this tool really is. First up, a complex web page. So the source for this explainer tested it on Google's own Gemini models page. You know, the one full of content that's hidden away in those little expandable sections. The task was simple. Hey, extract the key info. And the result? A perfectly structured table, just like this one, that pulled all the details right out of those hidden elements. That's something that would normally take a bunch of custom scripting to get right. All right, next, let's try something even harder, a dense technical PDF. When it was given the URL for the legendary "Attention is all you need" paper and asked about a specific diagram, it didn't just spit back the text around it. No, it showed a genuine understanding of that figure's content and its structure. For anyone doing technical document analysis, that is an absolute game changer. And finally, let's check out its vision skills. It was given a URL for an image of a musical instrument, with little numbered parts all over it. The model was then asked to identify all those parts in French, and it nailed it. It correctly named every single component, the body, the neck, the tuning pegs, all of it. That is true multimodal intelligence right there. Now, as powerful as this is, it's not a total free-for-all. Of course not. There are some important rules and, costs to be aware of before you dive in and start building. The cost model is actually refreshingly simple. Instead of paying for a whole separate subscription for some scraping service, it's all integrated. You only pay for the tokens that the content you pull in actually consumes in your API call. It is so much more straightforward than having to manage yet another third-party vendor. And here's the big number you need to remember for scale. You can process up to 20 URLs in a single go. 20! There are just a few other key rules of engagement here. You've got that 20 URL limit per request. There's also a pretty generous 34 megabyte limit for each URL. And this is the big one. It only works with publicly accessible URLs. So no logins, no paywalls. It has to be open to the web. So what does all of this mean for you, the developer? Well, it pretty much means you've just been handed a new superpower for your projects. This is all about radically simplifying your entire stack. We're talking about one integrated tool that replaces a whole, often really fragile scraping workflow. It creates this direct line from the live web straight to the brain of your AI. And it does it with an understanding that goes way, way beyond just raw text. So now that you know about Gemini's secret weapon for understanding the web, what doors does this open up for you? What project that maybe seemed too difficult or even impossible before can you now finally bring to life?